Everybody, welcome back to what's now going to become, for a test period, 10 to profitability instead of 20, because you people have been telling us that, hey, you're looking for shorter, even faster, which is freaking awesome, because we always said we're going to give you 20 minutes, because if you got more than 20 minutes to go learn and learn and learn and learn, that's probably one of the reasons why you're not profitable. This is all about helping you guys as independent business consultants get profitable. I'm Jay Niblick. I'm the founder and CEO of Intermetrics. Bryan Arzani, president of Intermetrics. Say hey.
Hey, dude, here's what's cool too. We actually have experienced more growth in the first quarter of 2019, I think we can say it, than we ever have in the history of the, 19 years of the organization.
January was 20 years.
And what's just crazy is we're getting the right kind of consultants to come to us now who said, 20 to profitability is cool, but can you do it in 10? And we're like,
yeah.
Done. So let's rock and roll.
Not a problem. So we're continuing on the discussion. This is going to be short, fast, and sweet, and we're going to end whatever the timer says, and then it's time to go sell some shit. So last discussion was about how to differentiate yourself. There's 700,000 management consultants out there. Some studies look at 800,000. So somewhere in between the neighborhood of 700,000 to 800,000 competing consultants, independent management consultants, executive coaches, talent kind of oriented, human capital focused. 1,000 to 2,000 people in your backyard. Watch the last video. You got to figure out how to differentiate yourself. And if you go out with the same shit, talking about the same stuff that everybody else does, you're not going to stand out. You're not going to get business. You're not going to be profitable, and you're going to be going back looking for a job. If that's what you want to do, great. But if you really want to stay in business, here's how you differentiate yourself. So Bryan and I will kind of give a couple of different examples. Today's topic is about when you're asked what you do. How do you position yourself when somebody says, hey, what do you do? You're at the BNI meeting, the networking, the chamber, whatever. You're on a plane with someone. Bryan, how do you differentiate yourself from the 700,000 other people when they say, hey, well, what do you do?
What's crazy is this is honestly, Jay, when we do our monthly calls with our consultants, all over the world, this is the most common issue that comes up. Most folks, when they're asked what they do, they tend to slow down because they've all been through some sort of training that says, don't ever tell them. So they go, well, it's kind of complicated. And then they spend this amount of time discussing how, and they tell some stories. And at the end of the time, the person after 3 minutes is going, I still don't know what you really do, right? And so what I found in terms of being able to share with people exactly what it is, right? Here's what I first do. I first share with people, here's my passion. You know what I'm passionate about. And so you got to figure out what you're passionate about. And the first thing you say is, this is my why. And you know what my why is? My why is I'm passionate about aligning talent with opportunities. And they go, huh. And that right there, if I can say I'm passionate about aligning talent with opportunities, they're going to sit there and they're going to put that with that whatever frame or whatever paradigm or map they have when they hear those words. Because all I need them to do once I've stated a couple of things about what I do is cause something that's most powerful. You read the book called The Like Switch, L-I-K-E. It talks about it. What it creates is it creates curiosity. And what they say is they go, I want to know more. What does that mean? Aligning talent with opportunities. And then you've got to speak from your position of, usually it's 3, right? 4 is too many and 2 is not enough, but you got to have the 3 things that you do very effectively, and you got to be able to just push them out there, right? So maybe you say something like, I'm passionate about, aligning talent with opportunities, and I work in 3 areas: people, process, and strategies. And they go, wow, well, tell me more about strategy. And then you got to be able to go, boom, here's my strategy, right? You can't just throw a dart against the wall and expect people to just magically gravitate towards your organization because you have the magic honey, right? You got to be able to do it by design. And we have a strict process that helps you to pop, right? Or you talk about, well, what does process mean, right? When you can just slow down and you talk a little bit about, we have an objective process that helps you analyze talent, look at emerging succession planning, whether it's ramp up, whether it's onboarding, whatever it is, right? Development coaching, it's got to be a process, because Peter Drucker says you make quick decisions about people, slow decisions about process. You got to have a process as you look at aligning talent opportunity. Obviously, I'm not just spouting this stuff off as if it's the first time I'm saying it. But when Jay, you and I talk about it, we've got to have a very compelling, unique little way to be very different very quickly so that it causes them to have that. And that's, I think, the outcome, Jay, is just they got to be curious. When I'm done talking, they got to go, huh,
So
right?
point number one from what I hear, if I'm kind of dissecting this, is distill this down to like somebody saying, hey, what's the big difference here? You know, why, how do I differentiate myself? So one, don't show up and throw up. You know, I say it on almost every call. I swear to God, learned the phrase at Johnson & Johnson back in my sales days, with that organization anyway. And it's just, you know, the most common thing we've seen. I've stood there at 1,000 different events and I've watched it happen a million times. You know, 700,000 people out there. The vast majority show up and throw up. And so that's one thing I hear you saying, don't do. Don't just walk into the spiel of, you know, well, my company does sales training, team building, and executive strategic coaching. And so we've helped our clients increase 30% top line growth with, 20% reduction in turnover. And one of the best sales out there. And we have 1,000.
Sign me up, baby. I'm in.
You know, it's like all you're doing is showing up and throwing up all your features, functions, and benefits, everything that you do. So you're saying don't do that because that doesn't differentiate you. And I get it.
It's got to be a ping pong.
It's got to be ping pong. The second thing I heard you say, which is really crucial, and I'm going to give you my example of how I do that, is engage them to get curiosity. You know, you want them to ask more questions. Know this, in these few seconds to minutes that you have when somebody says, what do you do? Whatever that, you know, speed business dating is, or networking, or just, again, literally sitting around at a baseball game and you happen to strike up a conversation. Key to differentiate yourself. No, you're not going to sell anybody there. You could have 30-minute discussion. You're not going to sell shit. It's not going to happen. Okay. Right. The only objective in these situations is to get further discussions down the road. You got to get them to say, hey, how do I talk about this or that? So asking the question, that's what you want them to do in their head, is ask questions. Here's how I spin it. So you got to use consultative jujitsu, right? You know, like you got to take that thing that comes at you, spin it around, and push it back at them. So when someone says, hey, what do you do? You know, what do you guys over at Intermetrics do? I hate answering the question with a question. So I want to answer them, but I don't like the spotlight to be on me. Not from a personality standpoint. You don't effectively sell if the spotlight's on you. So the spotlight needs to be on them. That's how you sell, especially in this world. So somebody says, hey, what do you guys do? I answer the question. You know, I diagnose and solve human capital problems in the organization. For example, I don't wait for them to go, oh, what's that mean? I usually say, for example, right? That's the spin it around and tell me, for example, it's the easiest way to explain it. For example, what keeps you up at 2:00 at night with regards to people? That's my pat phrase that's worked for me for many years. But I've told them what I do. It's a little ambiguous, but I diagnose and solve human capital issues in your organization or in organizations. You can always do the suggestive close technique of sales to actually use in your organization. You know, it depends on how comfortable you are with that. Same as saying, well, when we start working together versus if, you know, that same kind of psychology. But beyond that, I'm not looking for any trickery. I ask, you know, what keeps you, for example, what's the biggest issue with regards to human capital in your organization today? And I'm spinning it around, I'm pushing it back on them, and that gets into a dialogue. I want to go down that path of, well, we've got this one manager that just has horrible turnover underneath them. My guess, I don't know, but compared to the rest of the managers, or we hire badly. We suck at hiring. We got way too high a turnover. We can't find salespeople that sell. You know, okay, whatever they say, you've got to be, and this is what we train you to do. This is what we certify and teach you at Intermetrics, is that person says, Bryan says to me, oh man, our salespeople, that's the thing that keeps me up at 2:00 at night. I don't know that our salespeople are going to make the quota. That's my responsibility. I don't know if I'm going to have a job next year. So I go, you know what? That's interesting. We hear a lot of that. One of the biggest reasons we see why salespeople don't sell is because they don't have some of the natural talents. They're not what we would call a high D or a high I in one of the assessments we use. They're not motivated by an economic gain driver or something like that. I push back out from the profiles things that we've seen identified causing that problem before. And I want that same kind of question. I want them to go, oh, okay, that's interesting. I haven't heard that before. I wonder if that's why our salespeople aren't selling. And I very simply say, you know what? Let's just have a discussion next week. I can give you guys some profiles and let's just find out. You know, I'm not going to sell anything there. That's my differentiation. When somebody says, what do you do? Brief answer, very brief. For me, it was one sentence: diagnose and solve human capital problems. Let me give you an example.
But that's the powerful piece, though, Jay, is, you know, I think everybody that's watching this, you've got to be able to have, what is your compelling statement that allows you just to simply create curiosity? Are we at 10 minutes, brother?
10 seconds almost. Yeah. So that's the key. Don't tell them, show up and throw up. All right. We'll see you on the next video. Differentiate yourself. Go sell some shit.
Go sell.